Well, let's get into an episode that I wanted to do shortly after the Hollow Moon episode. Welcome, everybody, to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 6, or proper episode 6.
Chilluminati,
partner, never no nicks.
Chilluminachos.
Hey, it's been a while, actually, since we've actually done a proper episode. How was your European tour de force, Jesse?
It was great. I had a fun time. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on this podcast.
Chilluminachos After Dark.
Chilluminachos After Dark.
We have an After Dark version. I'll tell you all about it.
Ooh, shit, girl.
Netflix and Chilluminati.
I like it. Well, before we dive into the main episode, at the top of the episode, I've already put out a little announcement video for this before, but for those who don't listen to it because it was not a main episode, hey, we're going to be doing a live show, our very, very first live show on June 8th at Indie PopCon in Indianapolis at 6:15 p.m. in the Wabash room, I think. It's an hour and a half they gave us in one of the, if not the biggest room they have, so basically I'm prepared for disappointment.
You're just thinking about how many people are going to be in that room for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, like for the next 2 weeks, I'm just like, it's going to be like 3 people. And
here's the thing. Those 3 people will have the best time of their life.
If there's only 3 people, they're going to be up on stage with us, and it's going to be awesome.
One of them is going to be an FBI recruiter. We're going to go work for the FBI, and then we're just going to disappear.
In the X-Files? Awesome.
Yeah.
I get to be Scully.
Yeah. God damn it.
You are Scully.
Thank you.
You even have the right hair.
Thank you.
So which one of us is Mulder, then?
I'll be Doggett. It's okay.
Yeah, I feel like we need to hire a Mulder. I don't think any of you are a Mulder.
That's fair. All right, I'll take it. But
yeah, you're more like the cigarette smoking man. Let's be real.
Oh wow. All right. Well, on that then. Well, make sure you're there. We're gonna be doing a show, and then every day while we're there at 2 p.m. on the YouTube signing stage in the vending room, we'll be there to hang out. Jesse will be there for Friday, and then part of Saturday, and then you've got to go because you got E3 stuff going on. And me and Alex will be there for the whole weekend. So say hi. It should be a blast. I'm really, really excited. The topic we're going to do, not to spoil it because we're not, but it will be Indianapolis focused.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Mothman?
Listen, I'm not saying anything.
The Indiana Mothman?
The Indiana Mothman.
It's going to be about Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The Indianapolis Devil?
The Indianapolis
Devil.
I know that was a Jersey Devil reference. I got you. Don't worry.
Thank you.
It's the haunted race car that's always on the track.
Herbie the Love Bug?
Yeah.
But just so if you're there, if you're going to be there in the area, grab a ticket. Come see us for Friday. It should be an awesome show. I'm super pumped. And I don't know if we're going to have it recorded to put up after, so it may just be an exclusive to the convention thing. We don't know yet. I don't know.
We'll find out. Yeah.
One way or another. We'll find out. Either way, it should be a lot of fun. However, today is a get your tinfoil hats on kind of episode. So
my favorite kind.
The initial plan I had was to do back-to-back Hollow Moon followed directly by Hollow Earth. I wanted to kind of pair them together. However, after the insanity of Hollow Moon, I didn't want to touch Hollow Earth for a little while. I wanted to do something that wasn't...
So instead we did Aliens.
Yeah, so instead we did Aliens, exactly. A little more credible, depending on how you look at it.
Well, we did the dolls too. That's, it's okay.
Yeah, we did a few other things before we did this. But I figured, let's just get this out of my system. Let's do Hollow Earth.
I'm ready.
And just to kind of to give you guys an idea, I would say Hollow Moon is actually more credible than Hollow Earth is. That's how nonsensical this is.
Have you been in caves, man? It's pretty hollow.
Listen, we'll talk about the caves and all that stuff here in a little bit, but Hollow Earth is just one of those things that I was researching, and no matter what I was reading, there was just, at least with like Hollow Moon, some people were trying to be scientific about it. The people who believe in Hollow Earth is just like,
it's a doorway. It's like a gateway to like a whole other belief system.
It's there it really is. It's just, it hurt. It hurt my brain. And then I started reading. I was like, okay, well, where did Hollow Earth like even come from? Like, where did this idea come from? Outside of obviously mythology, which is probably the spur of it all. But who pushed this? Who tried to make this a real thing? And I cannot wait later in this episode to get to that, because holy shit, the people who push this.
Is it the government?
No, but the government is involved in this. That's all I'm gonna say.
Of course it is.
I can't
What?
wait.
Okay.
Yeah, no, in a legitimate way, the government is involved. In a small way, but it's a legitimate way, not like one of those a secret government organization is hiding their base in the middle of the
no
earth.
secret. Everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Of course. So let's
Where is hell if not in the middle of the earth?
Of course.
Right,
No, that's
right.
a lot of where mythology comes from. So let's actually go back and let's talk a little bit here about the roots of Hollow Earth, which I would love to see. Is there a way I can pay to watch a debate between Hollow Earthers and Flat Earthers?
Just watch the movie Journey 2.
Journey 2?
With The Rock.
The
Yeah,
center of the earth?
it's basically that.
I want to watch Flat Earthers and Hollow Earthers yell at each other about their nonsense. I really, really want to see it. But
Why couldn't the Earth be both flat and
hollow? Ooh, good.
It's all about scale, man.
Well,
Yeah,
it's all about scale.
That's my. Oh man, I'm starting that theory. The Earth is not only flat, but also hollow, and you can dig down through the
Slavash.
bottom of the Earth. But you'd fall into a giant chasm where the dinosaurs live first.
And
like a
and it's not even. It's Brendan Fraser's down there.
Yeah. And The Rock.
And
Yeah,
The
but
Rock.
they're like dinosaur versions of them.
Did they play the same guy?
They must have, right?
I don't know. I just like that's such a weird.
I just remember.
I want to show that to Jules Verne.
Oh man, I remember the Brendan Fraser version of Journey to the Center of the Earth was like during the peak 3D movie time.
Oh man, it was like a 4D movie,
and it was just like constant things like coming at you. Watch out, it's 3D. It was after the whole Avatar nonsense, which we're eventually getting more movies than that apparently. But anyway,
surprisingly faithful to the Hollow Earth lore. No, just kidding.
well, depending on the lore, you aren't incorrect. So
Oh, boy.
let's start at the beginning. Where did Hollow Earth come from? Why is this even a thing? Well, Hollow Earth is actually not anything that we've not seen before from humanity. Legends and stories talking about the Earth being hollow date back to just ancient mythology. The ancient Greeks believed there were caverns under the surface of our planet that were entrances that led to their underworld. Celtic mythology has a legend known as, and I'm going to butcher this, Cruachan, which is basically Ireland's own gate to hell legend. They have their own version of caves that lead to their own hell. Native American mythology refers to the ancestors of the Mandan people, a tribe of the Great Plains who lived in what is now North Dakota, in ancient times being descendants from a people that emerged from a subterranean land through a cave at the north side of the Missouri River.
So even that is part of this.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. So they actually believed that, in mythology, these people that were an actual tribe that actually existed, the mythology believed that they were descendants from a subterranean people.
Did you talk about the green people in this? I haven't read all the way through this.
Are you talking about like reptilians or?
No. So I have this. I wish there was like a way that I could like showcase this better to you, but my grandma, God rest her soul, loved Reader's Digest. She was like a big like buyer of like Reader's Digest anthologies.
Okay.
And so she bought a couple from like the 60s or something that are like all about paranormal stuff and like unsolved whatever. And a story that like always stuck with me because it was one of the few that has like an illustration was like, I think it was in America somewhere, like some miners just like found some kids and they were like green and they spoke English and they said they came from like a world below the earth and they like eventually like within like hours like got sick and died because they couldn't breathe up here.
I actually have heard that story, but I only know it.
Why would they speak English?
No, that's the thing, right? Like,
that's a great question.
Is it so maybe it can be translated to Reader's Digest?
It's because it's It's like Dinotopia where they split off.
Dinotopia.
No, I don't know. There's not a lot of lore around it, but it's just like a story that's been tossed around.
Yeah,
with
that's the
green
thing, right?
English-speaking kids.
When diving into this, there's so many stories that all point to many different beliefs as to why the Earth is hollow and what's there. I kind of plucked the most prominent ones, and that's not. I actually like, other than hearing that story, I didn't really come across it while doing the research, but.
Oh no, it's literally like not commonly associated with this. It's just like
they were little green people that spoke English. Maybe they were human reptilian hybrids who escaped.
Why would they speak English?
Because they were being raised. Because they were being raised to infiltrate our society.
And when you have a
people
portal,
were being raised
when you have
to
a portal that can look into the future and you can tell what language the world powers are speaking, hello,
You're right. How foolish of me.
the magic glass beneath the
so
earth.
dumb.
So, other than that, obviously, other religions today have have their own associations between their versions of the underworld and subterranean concepts mixed in. The idea that there is something below the Earth's surface is nothing new. I mean, again, we look at even Christianity, right? When we think of heaven, we point up to the sky. When we think of hell, we point down to below the Earth's crust. You can always tie the underworld and the like to always being below our feet, always underneath us in some way. So that's not new. It's always been part of myth and legend. But that started to change a little bit when that myth started to become theory and hypotheses in the late 1600s, specifically by a man named Edmund Halley in 1692, one of the first people to put forth the idea that there was more under our Earth's crust than we believe. People might know who this person is, or at the very least know of him via Halley's Comet, because it was
Oh, really?
Halley's Comet was named after Edmund Halley. He was a renowned astronomer and traveler. In 1675, he became the assistant to John Flamsteed, who was the first astronomer royal at Greenwich Observatory. A year later,
He has the coolest last name.
Flamsteed?
Period.
It's awesome. I love.
That's like some D&D shit right there.
That is
John Flamsteed. That's my ranger.
That's actually a great fantasy name.
Yeah.
After that, a year after he was working for him, he traveled to the volcanic tropical island St. Helena, where he brought a bunch of equipment to set up an observatory and study and catalog the stars of the southern hemisphere. In 1678, he went to Danzig at the request of the Royal Society to help resolve a dispute between Robert Hooke and Johannes Hevelius over some findings that they had. And in 1684, he even traveled to Cambridge to talk over issues relating to gravity with Sir Isaac Newton himself. So this guy that proposed the idea that there might be more under the Earth's crust is not just some schlub. He was an actual scientist of his time, of his era. Of course, keep that in mind. Late 1600s, it's not like they had much to go on.
So what you're saying is this is indisputably true.
Right. There is no other option.
As concrete as gravity.
I can point to a scientist of some repute at some point in time and say he believed it, so therefore it's fact.
Well, I don't think what you said means he believed the Earth was hollow. What he said is that there has to be something other than dirt below us.
Yeah,
there's something down there, which in theory is true.
That is true.
There's
a core
many different layers of the Earth that lead to the core.
So
this is more about the same thing as the Earth is round, we orbit the sun, how stuff works, physics kind of idea.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into that right now, what he believed and why what his beliefs did still spurred on the belief that the Earth might still be hollow. So his idea was that the Earth was made of a hollow shell about 500 miles thick, with two inner concentric shells and an innermost core. Atmospheres separated the shells. The atmospheres separate the shells, and each shell has its own magnetic poles. The spheres rotate at different speeds, and this was put forth to help explain some anomalous compass readings that people would have. So we believed that there was that shell on the outside of Earth, and then an atmosphere, and then another shell that rotated, and then an atmosphere, and then another shell that rotated in a slightly different direction, and then an atmosphere, and then a core to the Earth. To boil it down into super simple terms.
That's insane, though, right?
That's just me sitting there. Well, now it is.
Now it is.
But if I
in 1690 whatever,
little
maybe
glass
not.
of brandy,
because you got to think too. They're trying to explain why does a compass go bonkers and why does it do this or why does it do that, and they don't have the technology in any way to break beyond the surface of the Earth. So in his mind, he's basically taking what he knows and was educated about and trying to apply it to help explain away what he considered anomalous readings.
Right.
It's like when I'm how can a resistance capital ship jump through?
God damn it.
A bunch of first
For
order
a moment,
shit.
my brain was wait, what? Oh!
Yeah, it's the same type of thing.
No, the problem is that if this is the basis of where we're going from here, two things. One,
oh no, it gets way more fucking weird.
he didn't have all the information. So
of course,
using him as a starting point is already crazy. Two, if you're going to listen to a scientist, in this case Edmund Halley, why stop with just Edmund Halley? Like, oh yeah, there must be something in the Earth.
Exactly.
What about all the other scientists? Like, there's a lot of. All right, I'm ready for this adventure.
Oh, dude, it's gonna go crazy.
Ready to poo-poo all of it. Yeah.
Don't worry, it's gonna go bonkers in a little bit here. This is already pretty bonkers. He also believed that perhaps the atmosphere inside was luminous, meaning able to generate power and energy, and potentially even inhabited. While further thinking that the escaping gas of the inner spheres were the reason the aurora borealis existed at all. That's mostly all he posited, though. Not much more was done on his end after that. So he was like, Aurora Borealis, why is that a thing? Well, maybe some escaping gas of the inner atmospheres of the crusts underneath our Earth is what is causing Aurora Borealis.
To be fair, there's definitely like ecosystems at the bottom of the ocean that like resemble this. You know what I mean?
And he did say like I said, he did posit the idea that perhaps inside the Earth was inhabited by something. He never said inhabited by intelligent creatures and are they humans.
Kingdom of lizards.
He literally just said inhabited, and that could literally mean anything. There was no real much beyond that. However, it started to get a little crazier about 200 years after. So that's really it back in the 1600s. That's kind of where it started. Let's fast forward to the early 1800s and put our lens on a man named John Cleves Symmes Jr. He also suggested that the Earth was a hollow shell, but this time he said it was around 800 miles thick, with openings about 1,400 miles across at both poles, with 4 inner shells, each open at the poles. Symmes actually became the most famous of the early Hollow Earth folk, and Ohio actually has a monument to him and his ideas.
Of course, as a native of Ohio, of course it does.
That's beautiful.
Oh,
why did he change the numbers?
Because
why was he like?
Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. First, you might be asking yourself, what are his credentials? Who is this man?
I would love to know.
Why is he at all someone I should believe? And if you're anyone with a brain, you would look up with that. However, if you want to believe the Earth is hollow, do yourself a favor, turn off the podcast, don't do any research, and just live in a fantasy world. So, if Edmund Halley was a renowned scientist of some sort, then surely Mr. Symmes is a man of some education to become so famous. His education was labeled as such. Mr. Symmes had a good, proper English education.
What does that mean?
It means he wasn't a very educated man at all. He was a soldier primarily, and after leaving the army, became a trader where he flopped and his business failed until he eventually moved his family to Newport, Kentucky. But while he was failing at his job, he was contemplating the rings of Saturn, and he started to develop his own hollow Earth theory. The man that is most famous for this was a man who had an education of a sort for the early 1800s and was a soldier at some point and then had a failed trading business.
So he basically did what I do at night when I'm about to go to sleep, and then he somehow ended up in a podcast 200 years later.
He was a man who I can imagine was doing some good stuff with, alcohol and maybe some weed and laying out in his lawn, looking up at the sky and thinking about the rings of Saturn, and was like, I bet you there are rings inside of the Earth. However, before his business would collapse, like any good scientist in air quotes, on April 10th, 1818, Symmes declared the Earth to be hollow with this following statement. Now, I have this set as Jesse to read this in his best old-timey voice as he can. Feel free to read the declaration that he wrote, and then I'm going to tell you what he did with that declaration.
Well, I will. I'll do that right now. Well, I declare the Earth is hollow and habitable within, containing a number of solid concentric spheres, one within the other, and that it is open at the poles 12 or 16 degrees. I pledge my life to support this truth, and I'm ready to explore the hollow if the world will support me and aid me in this undertaking.
It's like the first scene of an MMO.
Journey to the Center of the Earth, the MMO.
Yeah. Dude, it's time.
So that was he's pledged his life on it. Mind you, all while his business was spectacularly failing and he was unable to support his family, wife, and children. But, you know, he had grander goals in mind to most specifically push this forward, this idea. So in another show of absolute business genius, Symmes would take that declaration and on his own dime send it to, and I quote, each notable foreign government, reigning prince, legislature, city, college, and philosophical societies throughout the Union, and to inficidal members of our national legislature, as far as the 500 copies he could take would possibly go. On his own dime.
You know what? You got to spend money to make money. The man, he's smart. He's smart.
This man took 500 copies of this and sent it to governments and princes and schools and philosophers and all kinds of stuff. And just
he tweeted. That's what he did.
He tweeted, but he paid to tweet. He paid to tweet it. He paid. This is legitimately, my brain goes to that time and I see Symmes laying on his lawn with a failing business literally behind him, slightly on fire. And he's handwriting this note, and beside him on his left is like a stack of 357 copies of the note, and on his right he's got like empty papers, and everything is collapsing around him. But he's too busy swearing his life that this earth is hollow, and he's got all of his money that he's got left saved up, and he's looking at it, knowing he's going to spend the rest of it sending those 500 copies out to governments, and hope that he starts some sort of revolution.
You know what? In the drunk history, he would be the hero.
Yeah, in like a drunk history retelling of poor old Symmes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the man that, mind you, has a monument to him in Ohio.
Yeah.
And then everyone in the world's mind was blown.
Yeah, you would think he's crazy. Not a scientist in any way. A failed. I can't say he's a failed businessman. And he's like somebody that
some people are good at business. Some people aren't. Some people discover the secret to the multi-concentric spheres in the center of the earth.
Oh God! And he believed that
basically just Doctor Who. Yeah.
So the reaction to this, shall we say, of these outlandish ideas were summed up by his son in 1878. And his son said, and I quote, "Its reception by the public can easily be imagined. It was overwhelmed with ridicule as the production of a distempered imagination, or the result of partial insanity. It was for many years a fruitful source of jest with the newspapers."
God damn! I wish it was still this significant when somebody said something to everybody. You know what I mean?
Oh man. So he flopped spectacularly, but Symmes continued on, even so far as after converting many people over time to his way of thinking. Now, it's important to note that the people that he was converting were mostly local people. He very much was, from my research, a very vocal man about his beliefs, and would preach them, I guess would be the best way to put it, all around his town all the time. And that's the thing, right? Like, most people can laugh at you, but if you're going to walk around your town constantly saying these crazy things, you're bound to find other crazy people who are going to believe you.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
That is 100%. Because I'm thinking about this. I'm like, okay, so that's the 1800s, almost 1900s. How in God's name did this idea keep going? Obviously, Jules Verne is part of it. But, like, why? Like, how does this keep going? Right?
The Roadshow?
Yeah, this whole idea of everyone being like, yeah, it's the Earth's hollow. I truly believe, much like this guy, the reason why it's become popular as of late is the internet, right?
Yes.
And it's the idea that Symmes, in his time, went around his town shouting it as loud as he could, and the people that heard it, eventually, some of them were like, yeah. The internet's the exact same way, except it's not a town anymore, it's the world. And so if you shout it enough, other people will be like, that's pretty smart. And it's the exact same thing, except now it's the world, so there are many more people. So we have to sit here and do an episode on this incredibly stupid thing. Please continue.
This is like how you start a cult, except the only difference is like he never had the great idea of being like, and you can have sex with whoever you want. If he added that in, he would have been rich.
It's The thing with Symmes, too, is just, like, he doesn't, from everything I've read, he didn't seem like he had that much of a force of personality. He was just doggedly persistent about it.
What was his end goal?
He came across as a man that just desperately wanted to be known for something, right? Like, he wanted to have a legacy of some sort. And he's
now he's a statue. He was right. We were wrong.
That's the shitty part. He got what he wanted. He actually got what he wanted. And whenever you, like, it's that whole idea of just, you know, you find the echo chamber, you never leave it, you never research anything. Why bother? Because in your mind, on a very base level, it makes sense. Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't the Earth be hollow? It's too big not to be hollow, kind of thing. All it takes is a little research to realize, oh, here's the 90,000 reasons it can't be hollow, or at least is like a 0.01% chance of being hollow. Even over time,
let's be clear, there are definitely big caves,
absolutely,
giant spaces within the Earth, but that only goes so far down. Because the rest of it is like molten and too hot and just like there clearly are going to be some areas that are like, yes, indeed, this is a giant chasm. But like, there isn't a world, there isn't dinosaur people, and there isn't like other atmospheres. It's just not how it works.
Symmes himself actually, over time, he actually changed his theory. He remember his initial theory was 5 concentric spheres within the Earth, all rotating in different directions. Eventually, he brought it down to just 1. He said, "Never mind, I'm wrong. It's only 1." What was the cause of that? Why he changed his mind?
People were probably too stupid to understand the original idea.
Honestly, a lot of it is that. Like, he brought it down to be more simple, for people to understand more, and he figured it didn't really make sense that there'd be 5 concentric circles. It would be too chaotic, so bring it down to 1. Fully believed that there was still like a hollow Earth and stuff, but even his own theory, he was like, no, my theory's wrong. Under no facts presented to him, he just changed his mind on a whim for the most part.
So you want to hear something that I was like sort of looking into the statue?
Oh Lord, yes, please tell me what you got.
Yeah, so check this out. So the Symmes family is in Hamilton, by the way. It's in Hamilton, Ohio.
Okay.
Which I don't know.
I know Hamilton, Ohio. It is near Cincinnati.
Yeah, okay, great. Perfect. So basically the Symmes family was like a pretty prominent, like,
in the town.
Yeah.
Happens when you shout about a hollow Earth for all your whole life.
Yeah, actually his cousin married William Henry Harrison.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so there was a time in the 1840s, when the burial site in Hamilton, they were just like exhuming all the bodies and turning it into a park. And so like the official story of the city is like he was famous because he was crazy, and so they wanted to just like memorialize it, and that's why he's still there, because he didn't actually, his body is underneath the statue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so
I guess when your town is known for nothing, immortalize the crazy man.
Well, but then if you talk to the guy who's the from the Butler County Historical Society, which I believe Hamilton is a part of Butler County, the Symmes family actually owned the land that the park was on, and they were worried that if they moved the body, the land would revert to the heirs of the instead. So they wanted to keep the land with the family, so that somebody young and dumb couldn't like sell it. So they just left it as a cemetery for one guy, basically.
That's a hell of a roundabout way of doing it, but whatever works.
But, like, I love that he didn't actually get a statue, like, the way that you would imagine. I love that
it wasn't like a celebratory, this man is a wonderful man kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. And then, actually, there is a state park in Florida that's also...
God, of course it's in Florida.
Yeah, it's dedicated to another guy who, like, took his ideas, a man named Cyrus Teed.
I do remember coming across his name during the research, yeah.
Yeah, he's just like another guy, but like,
more or less.
what a fucking hilarious thing. Like, he's like, well, he's got the statue.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, he got the statue. He will be remembered. For one reason or another, that town has a statue of him, even if it wasn't for the reason that maybe Mr. Symmes wanted it to be. So that's kind of the idea. And again, there are, like you mentioned, there's that guy in Florida. There are other people who kind of perpetuate the idea that the Earth is hollow, but for the most part...
so many.
None of them are really credible. But that's kind of just the root of where this theory or this story comes from, right? It started with Halley, and then Symmes kind of blew it up and did everything he could to mail off his thing to governments and nonsense, and that's kind of how the ball got rolling. We could go over however long it would take to just get to where we are now, but we're not going to. We're going to start talking a little bit about what people believe is at the center of the Earth, where maybe some of the idea got popularized, and other really fun things that could also be at the center of the Earth. So, if all of the people above pose their ideas as scientific in some way, then where did the idea of mythical creatures or ancient humans or aliens or whatever living in a paradise beneath our feet come from? Because that's a very popular theory, is that there is a paradise just under our feet where these amazing creatures and people live, and it's just utopia from I was going to say shore to shore, but I don't even know if there's shores down there. Who knows? But while it's really difficult to pin down where that idea came from, most people point to what, you guys have brought up, which is a book everybody should be familiar with, which is Journey to the Center of the Earth. Jules Verne's book was hugely popular and became the foundation of a bunch of very similar style stories involving an alien world at the center of our planet. Yeah, while Journey to the Center of the Earth might have been the first, he set a trend for a while, and there's a bunch of different books and stories talking about the amazing stuff that lives at the center of the Earth. And again, while most people would understand that it is nothing but fiction and fairy tales and a good sci-fi book, other people let their imagination run wild, especially if they already believe that the Earth may have been hollow. Perhaps Jules Verne was trying to tell them a secret message, that he had been there, that there are aliens down there or creatures down there that want a peaceful communication with our world, but we're too violent. All of this stuff. There's so many theories out there about what Jules Verne's book and books like it actually meant that it's ridiculous.
So it's just basically like what you're saying here is that like Hollow Earth is just like kind of like how people say a lot of the time, like Scientology is like, or Mormonism is Scientology plus time. This is like Slender Man plus time.
Kind of, yes.
It's just like
you perpetuate this fairy tale so much that it becomes reality for some people.
Can't wait till we believe in Harry Potter.
Oh my God. Well, I'm ready to believe in Harry Potter. If there's a fairy
that
tale,
would be,
I'm ready to believe.
I believe in Harry Potter. That's how he defeated Voldemort. You have to believe.
You're right. That's true. He had to believe in himself, and we all had to believe in him.
Have you seen Voldemort walking around killing people? No.
No.
Because Harry Potter killed him and won.
Killed him in the 90s.
Yeah, in the 90s. Yeah.
In the secret world. Who knows? Maybe
Hell yeah.
Harry Potter lives in the center of the fucking Earth. Maybe that's where Hogwarts and everything is.
I was a kid in the 90s, so it's quite possible
Me too.
that it could have happened.
That you are Harry Potter.
The 90s is a fever dream to everybody, man. Who knows what happened in the 90s?
I miss the 90s.
I could be Harry Potter. It's true.
Holy shit, you could be Harry Potter. And
just saying, 1998 was a great year.
What made 98 specifically a great year?
If you just look at the pop culture from 1998, if you just like go down a list of like biggest games, biggest movies,
I believe what he means to say is Ricky Martin living La Vida Loca.
Ricky Martin's Living La Vida Loca was at fever pitch. There's a lot of things going on in 98.
Is that the right year? I hope so.
No, I don't know. I know it was Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, look it up,
Shakespeare in
please.
Love, Ocarina of Time. It was a good year.
Oh, damn, Ocarina of Time. Good lord.
Yeah, come on.
My God. Well, so the question, I guess, that is on everybody's...
It's 1999. Much better.
Damn it,
99 was such a good year.
98 was for the Ricky Martin hipsters.
Yeah.
I mean, 99 did give us Majora's Mask, so it's not like 99 was bad in any way.
Not bad. Yeah, that's right. I judge my years by Zelda.
Of course.
That's right.
I mean, I would too, up until I stopped liking Zelda.
There you go.
I judge my years in Martins.
In Ricky Martin?
And Ricky Martin songs, yeah.
What about Enrique Iglesias?
You know what? I always am down for some falsetto Spanish.
Are you sad that he got the mole removed?
Was there ever a mole? That's the real question you have to ask yourself.
Dude, that's a Chilluminati.
Mm-hmm.
I
like it. I'll write that down on the list of things.
Yeah, was it fake to make him look beautiful? That's the question.
Maybe Enrique Iglesias is the real. Maybe that's where his mole is now. It's just back in the center of the earth where it came from.
Mole people.
Yeah. Mole people. There it is. The mole men. That's what it is.
Makes perfect
sense.
sense.
Brought it back around.
Okay. I know
I know I'm saying what's actually at the center of the earth, but that's not.
I was going to say, I know the question on your minds, guys, is what is actually at. the center of our hollow Earth? Well, let's
The
start.
answer is lava, but
No, it's not. You are incorrect. Incorrect. Hollow Earth is a lush tropical paradise that produce what people call megafauna and flora.
Right, and I should say magma for the nerds, just so
Right, yes,
I'm not
yes,
in
of
trouble.
course.
You know what?
Yeah,
You're
don't-
right. You're absolutely right. It is magma. I should have caught you on that.
I caught myself. It's okay. I'm
Because I
actually
would have had
myself.
to issue a correction at the start of the next episode, and that would have just been, bananas. So what is megafauna and flora? Healthier, bigger, more impressive life forms than anything we have here on the surface. Think like
Big ass palm tree leaves.
yeah, exactly. Did you ever seen Journey to the Center of the Earth? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Ice Age, the meltdown, or whichever
Right,
one is the one
sure.
where they go to the center of the earth.
Yep. I guess I don't know. However, the most common belief stuff is the following: a race of giant/large ancient humans or aliens
Wait,
live
people-
in this
This
paradise.
is what people still believe?
Yes, this is stuff that is commonly believed today, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit once I get through this part here. Yes, an ancient race of either humans or aliens or a mix live in the paradise, such as the ancient race of Lemurians. Now, my first question before I go on that, do you guys know what Lemurians are?
I'm looking it up.
It's-
I mean,
it's
I
a
know
weird-
the legend. They're the people who fought Atlantis.
Yes, they're the people who fought
Yes.
Atlantis, and they're maybe aliens, maybe not. You're not entirely
This is
sure.
like another word that people use for the lizard people sometimes, right? They say
No,
that.
not Lemurians. Not Lemurians. They're not the lizard people. There are other names for reptilians, but it's not Lemurians.
They're like the lost. They're like the lost humans, right?
Yeah, so they were people that lived on a lost continent that went to war with Atlantis, causing both of the lands to be lost forever. And again, I have to stress this: people legitimately believe this to this day.
You know where we should go from here? By the way, just a heads up, Mount Shasta.
Please.
If you guys don't know what that is, Mount Shasta is one of the major like supernatural, mythological, crazy
a
conspiracy locations.
Yeah.
Oh God, my
It's
favorite.
in Northern California, really close to Oregon, and it is straight up just where they think Lemurians are. It's where people see UFO
Yep, of
sightings.
course.
It's where people like this. It is a hyper point of paranormal activity, and we definitely should do an episode on that because it's
we should
fascinating.
go.
The amount
Let's
of stuff
do
they
it.
have with that is crazy. And so, yeah, apparently that is also a possible gateway to Lemuria. I have no clue.
Of course. Yeah, no, of course. That's a gateway to wherever you want it to be in your wild imagination, as far as I'm concerned. The Lemurians, I would actually love to do an episode on Lemuria and Atlantis as well, because there's just such a nonsense story there that is just worth talking about and laughing about. But
By
these
the way,
people,
just a
Yeah, go
heads
ahead.
up for people who are curious. Even though Atlantis is not, no one knows where it would have been. No one knows if it's even real, if it was just made up. It doesn't matter. But everyone's still searching for Atlantis, right?
Yep.
The theory, according to most, I'm not going to say most. I'm going to say some of the vocal people that I've heard talk about this.
Experts.
Yes. Atlantis was in the Atlantic Ocean. Lemuria was in the Pacific Ocean,
Yes,
and they
correct.
waged war against each other.
Yes.
So that's
yep.
sort of like to give you the vibe. It was like East versus West.
Yep. Two fantasy
I always thought about it.
continents.
I always thought about it as, for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason I always thought about it as Lemuria as like the bridge. Like
Lemuria
I think I read-
Yeah, Lemuria is supposed to be, as far as I'm aware, it was supposed to be what bridged Australia to India to Africa.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was, and it's so strange. It's such like, why is it right there? There's another one in like around New Zealand, right? That's like another sunken continent that they say could have been Lemuria.
Well, man, here's the thing: is because there's so many crazy theories on this. Atlantis is supposed to be in the Atlantic. Lemuria was supposed to be in the Pacific, but then apparently there was another continent that may or may not be Lemuria that was in the Indian Ocean.
The
but
Moridia or something.
yeah, like I don't know the name of it, but I know that supposedly because Lemuria is supposed to be in the Atlantic, and all the islands that are there are supposed to be what's left of the highest peaks of Lemuria. Who knows? Who knows if that changed? Because there's something else as well that was supposed to be, I'm looking it up right now, called Mu?
Mu sounds familiar, yeah.
I've heard of Mu, yeah.
So who knows? Who knows what these are? But it's worth the deep dive because I'm fascinated by it.
Oh, they're again, this is just off kind of like top of my head memory. The Atlantis and Lemuria were like, they were warring with one another, and they were all both hyper like technology driven races. They had like technology.
But because it was old, everyone dressed in like robes and hat. It's
yes,
fascinating.
Of course. Yes.
It's fascinating the thought process. Like, everything was built like Greek architecture, and they all wore weird robes and stuff. But they flew around in saucers and did battle in the sky.
Blew up an entire continent with one like attack and sunk it. And it was like a story of betrayal, and it was just it's so stupid, but it's so good. It's so good.
I love Lost Lands. Like Dinotopia, like took me away as a little boy.
Oh, Dinotopia, yeah,
that shit is tight.
It's good. But like as Jesse said too, these people, whoever they are generally seen as peaceful and loving, have far superior technology, including saucer technology, which will be important in a little bit, and could live for hundreds of years in perfect health. And they looked like humans as far as we know. And of course, because everything is connected to aliens, basically you replace Lemurians with tall whites, and it's the same story. A lot of people
I got a tall white at Starbucks the other day. It was delicious.
We got to figure out a better term for the tall whites.
I love the name tall whites.
Tall whites.
Because they're so stupid. Or Nordics as well is also
Nordics is even worse.
But I'm serious. The people believe that there's multiple alien races that all live peacefully there, and they keep trying to make contact with us, but we're violent and it doesn't work. It's believed, there's also the belief that's where Amelia Earhart disappeared to, that she didn't crash and die. That she
just fell in a Symmes hole.
She got pulled in the center of the earth.
We definitely should do an Amelia Earhart episode after the recent news that they were saying maybe they discovered.
The photograph.
Oh
yeah, I'd love to do an episode on that. That'd be cool.
There's a lot. There's a crazy fucking story about a woman listening to the radio in her house in America and getting like a broadcast from Amelia Earhart. There's some great Amelia Earhart stuff.
I would love to. There's so many fun things we can just fucking dive into. But I also find it important to talk about like the Hollow Earth stuff, because when we do eventually talk about Amelia Earhart, we'll have to cover the fact that people believe that she disappeared into the center of the earth where she lived a happy life with aliens.
What do they think? What do they think happened? What do they think happens when?
Well, because it's that idea of like if you don't see the evidence of her having crashed and died, then clearly she still lived somewhere.
Well, that's the same thing.
I just mean all these people go down.
That airline, where they didn't find anything, and people were like,
aliens.
It was taken, or it was captured by terrorists to be used in a. But it, over time, it's very obvious. Like it just crashed in the ocean.
Did you hear?
Did you hear? So big, they just didn't find it.
Yeah.
Did you hear the theory that I just read an article about this in like The Guardian or something? I can't remember what, but it was like specifically about the Malaysian flight. The prevailing theory, I think it was on like 60 Minutes. Like it was an article reporting on this, that the likely theory now that they're going with, because the investigation wrapped up last January,
right?
Finally, but like, what if the people that are still thinking about it think that the dude who did it, it was either one or both of them, the pilots, like it was like a murder, like it was like he wanted to kill everyone, and that he depressurized the cabin so that everybody passed out. That's why there was no texting or anything about what was going on.
Oh, damn.
And then there was like weird behavior where he like tilted his wing at one point, and they think that he like tilted his wing to look at his hometown again one last time.
See, that's way more believable.
But it's still crazy and totally unconfirmed.
Crazy, but
I mean, it is crazy. But didn't the one guy on the other flight, and I don't remember the name of this one, I do apologize. The one where he locked the cabin, which is why they now have a flight attendant go in the cabin, where he locked the cabin and crashed the plane on purpose. Like, humans can do messed up things. Like,
yes,
humans have the capacity to be terrible people. So
yes,
we just like to think like there's no way. It has to be
But
something.
But my thing is, what do people imagine happens? Like when they say, "Oh, like for example, Amelia Earhart went into the Bermuda Triangle and then is under the earth now." Like
So,
like some of what happens.
Why are we not doing a Bermuda Triangle episode? That's
We
way
will,
better
we
than
will.
Hollow Earth.
We have to lay the foundation.
Yeah, we have to talk about what I would call
We
the
are
basics
like
of insanity.
like the villains in a Conan movie where we are using the skulls and the bodies of crappy ideas as the foundation for our empire. Like this
That's
is
us.
where we're at
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not okay with this. I don't want
The
to.
Beatles.
Welcome. This is your life now, my man.
The
This is
Beatles
your
are
life.
part of it. They
Yeah.
never broke up.
By the way, something I would love to talk about real quick on the top, just to mention. I think we've tweeted about it and talked about it on the subreddit. By the way, check out the subreddit and tweet at us. Is that the that whole record about the Beatles is just mashing together of different aspects of their songs.
Yes, I found that out after Googling it a little bit longer after we put it out, because that's what people were saying, and apparently the guy responded to
it,
this.
yeah.
And he said that it's, well, who's to say when they have, it's the same guy, like maybe they have the same idea, but just worked it in a different way.
Yeah, he's like, just because they're in a different universe or whatever doesn't mean that they're not going to have the same ideas for the same songs.
And I'm gonna let you know, this guy, I believe him because
he disappeared.
Even if he took the time to mix all those, I give him credit because that's a lot of work and it sounded great. So screw him. It definitely is.
It's real.
Yeah.
And I mean,
It's real.
Why wouldn't we believe him? He disappeared after giving the information and disappeared off the internet. Only legitimate sources would do that. He doesn't want to be caught.
Yeah. So
He's
the
John
Lemurians.
Titor.
So Lemurians live in the center of the earth. Aliens, Greys, all the people with saucer technology. The usual, your typical Journey to the Center of the Earth style.
It's just Wakanda. Is
yes.
what it is.
You know what? Not a bad comparison. But so let's talk about though my favorite belief of what's in the current center of the earth, and what else would be there but the Nazis.
Earth Nazis? Oh no!
Center of the earth Nazis, Jesse.
I am ready for this.
Okay,
Take me away.
First, I have to tell you, acknowledge to the listeners that the Nazis were actually incredibly involved in the occult during World War II.
I thought you were going to say the Nazis were actually really bad.
They were terrible people. In case you didn't believe it, they had a whole different meaning for tall whites.
Yeah, similar meaning, but
Similar, but less
Yeah.
alien. More
the Nordics.
Yeah, exactly. But they were super involved in the occult. Hitler and some of his top men were very involved in the occult. And there would be another day where I would love to do a series or at least an episode on the occult and Nazis and their
many a late
weird
90s
marriage.
comic book writer owes
Yeah.
Adolf a big high five for being into ancient artifacts.
But besides Indiana Jones and all that stuff, and the things where it was like the Nazis are out for artifacts, real story. This is totally true.
Yep.
Look this up. This would be a great episode to do in the future. I'm just full of other episode ideas.
That's
War-
why this is the foundation, man. This is the foundation for tons of different episodes later
during
on.
World War II, while Hitler had, his obsession with the occult, he sent Nazis around the world to look for the possibility of artifacts that could help them win the war, right?
He did a bunch of different things like that.
So, this is totally true.
Are you gonna go to Spear of Destiny?
No.
Okay.
Because
that's another one.
I mean, that's something he definitely wanted to find. But totally true. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was like, all right, he sounds like he's bonkers, but if there's the slightest chance that he's right and he's going to find someone to use against us, we have to stop him. So they commissioned a unit of, guys who went around trying to fight Hitler's occult dudes.
And a little red guy with, a big hand.
No, not that. But that's what that's based off. That's what Hellboy's based off of, that idea. And that's what a lot of those, the mythos behind many comics and stories are based off of the fact that FDR was like, well, he's clearly insane, but if there's slight chance. So they had a secret, occult war. No actual occult stuff was used, but it was like, we have to get to X location before they do. Or they're going to go to this place, but we have to be there too. Like that kind
We
of
can
thing.
find the plates of from the Mormon religion.
There's a story out there, too, that I read a while back about Hitler. Actually, the reason he was winning World War II is because he found the Spear of Destiny. But the thing with the Spear of Destiny, according to what I read, is that it'll eventually kill you. And what actually ended up happening is that Eisenhower eventually got his hands on the Spear of Destiny, and that's why we won the war instead of them. It's nonsense. But
Wonder Woman.
Wait, time out. Yeah. But then he dropped an atomic bomb.
That was the spear.
Listen, Spear of Destiny helped that in some way.
Yeah, haven't you ever paid attention to the subtext of Doctor Strangelove?
Also,
Jesse, you're not allowed to think about this stuff.
How did Eisenhower get the Spear of Destiny?
I don't. That's explained. I don't remember.
Henry Jones Jr. got it for him.
Like, I think he,
Indiana was
from my memory, I think he, Eisenhower won a war, or won a fight, or a battle, and he found, this treasure trove that the Nazis had, and he found the Spear of Destiny in that treasure trove.
Tony Stark's dad and Hellboy teamed up.
With Captain America.
I mean, look, then he became president in the 50s.
Right, and then he died, because the Spear of Destiny eventually kills those who possess it.
Yeah, and then he chose Nixon as his vice president, and Nixon killed him with it! Oh!
Listen, I guarantee you there's a story out there that's exactly that.
The Spear of Destiny is another great thing to follow stories about.
We just gotta keep taking notes. All right,
these Nazis are in the planet. Let's find out about it.
So other than Paradise at the Center, it's the belief that the Nazis and Hitler found their way there and escaped the impending loss of World War II. This
makes sense.
Believe it or not, is actually based on some very minor factual evidence.
Don't do that.
Not evidence that he escaped, by the way.
This.
Some of Hitler's top advisors, and possibly even Hitler himself, believed that the Earth was hollow in the center.
Why?
Even so much as sending at least one expedition out to discover it. Hitler's Nazis were convinced that they were destined to rule the world, and they came to this warped conclusion through the acceptance of many occult beliefs and practices, including astrology, the prophecies of Nostradamus, and the hollow Earth/inverted Earth theory. Okay, I'm going to butcher this word. Holwelther.
Holweltler. Sorry, Germany.
Yeah, you could, if you guys want to go ahead and pronounce that better for me, feel free.
If you guys want to go on Twitter and angrily scream that word at us like a fascist speech, I would love that.
Well, because they suspected that our surface is on the interior. Okay, so this goes with the inverted Earth theory, in case you didn't know. Because they suspected that our surface is on the interior of a concave Earth.
Like Halo?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. All right.
Hitler sent an expedition, including Dr. Heinz Fischer.
Of the ketchup,
of course. Dr. Heinz.
First name. He named that for his first name. Yep.
Yeah, of course. And powerful telescopic cameras to the Baltic island of Rügen to spy on the British fleet. Fisher did so not by aiming his camera across the waters, but by pointing them up to peer across the atmosphere to the Atlantic Ocean. Because remember, they believed that the Earth was concave, and they could see it through different angles and Yeah.
What did they think? Oh.
Okay, the expedition was, of course, a complete failure, and Fisher's cameras saw nothing but the sky, and the British fleet remained safe.
What about space? Whatever.
No, man. It's also important to note that there was belief that... there's evidence that the Nazis were messing around in some sort of different aerospace technology. And they believe there's theories out there that they actually got their saucer technology, quote unquote around saucer technology, from the creatures or aliens that actually lived at the center of the Earth. That's where the technology that they got for all this stuff they were.
I thought it was the South Pole.
Listen, dude. It depends on the story that you're listening to.
Can I tell you something right now that would be amazing?
Yes.
I'm putting this out there. I'm putting this out there to the world. Okay.
Yeah.
Dear writers who want to make an amazing movie and/or game, American scientists discover Nazis in the South Pole in World War II. But because no one can stop them, they take it upon themselves to stop them, only to discover the Nazis are looking for alien artifacts, things they can use to create saucer technology. But spoilers, it's not little green men aliens, it's old god stuff, and they all go crazy.
Ooh.
And it's like Cthulhu-esque, and the scientists have to get out of there. That would be incredible.
I thought you were gonna say it was like Aryan, like Nordic aliens.
And then a bunch of tall whites show up and kill them, and are like, "You're not white enough," and they kill them. Sure, all right, that's fine.
God, I love the racist aliens, man. They're so good.
Tall
So
whites.
So that's the only evidence that we have that Hitler actually did anything involving hollow Earth or concave Earth theory. Was that one expedition?
Concave Earth is like
Ridiculous.
so much dumber than Hollow Earth.
Look
At
it up,
least-
man.
Yeah, but it allows
Look it
you
up.
to go like, oh.
Yeah.
You can do the Halo Kid thing. Like that.
I just found out that's a ripoff of like I think something called Ringworld. I had no idea that existed.
Oh, really? I have no idea. Doesn't surprise me. But that actually happened. Hitler did actually send out an expedition. They actually failed miserably. That's the evidence that we have that happened. Then there's the myths and the legends that Hitler and many of his Nazi minions escaped Germany in the closing days of World War II and fled to Antarctica.
Oh my God! Wouldn't that be an amazing? Just think about it. Wouldn't it be an amazing game where Hitler shows up and the scientists in Antarctica are like, "Oh no, we have to stop the Fuhrer," and then like ancient tentacle beasts and shit. Why am I not running game companies?
You are.
I don't know. You need to be.
You
I am
are
actually. You're right.
I mean,
You did-
actually, yeah, you are. You did release a game.
Now when you get there to the North Pole, you just have to, or the South Pole, you have to figure out whether you want to kill the Nazis or
Right.
date them.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. A weird alien Nazi dating murder simulator. I like it.
Yeah.
So, so he said they escaped Germany in the closing days of World War II, and they fled to Antarctica, where at the South Pole they had discovered an entrance to the Earth's interior. According to the Hollow Earth Research Society in Ontario, Canada,
God bless
which
him.
does exist.
God bless them.
That
Send me a shirt, please. Please.
I would love. I will wear it.
Can you
on
buy?
the live.
Can you buy a shirt from them?
God,
Please.
I hope if you can, I need to buy
Oh,
one.
I will. Please send me a shirt.
So the Hollow Earth Research Society in Ontario, Canada, which exists, they say that the Nazis and Hitler are still there. That the wonderful paradise that exists has kept them all alive. That Hitler is still fucking alive in the center of the Earth. After the war, the organization claims the Allies discovered that more than 2,000 scientists from Germany and Italy had vanished, along with almost 1 million people to the land beyond the South Pole.
All right. So just for the record,
Right.
as a history person,
Yes.
the reason why scientists were vanishing was Operation Paperclip.
Yes, I was
And,
literally about to say Operation Paperclip is the
When
reason scientists
Russia
went
and
away.
America snatched up as many scientists
We're like,
as
yeah,
they
let's
could.
get those.
And
Yep.
you're probably wondering, 1 million people, where could they have gone? Literally, there was a war. And
Yep.
Russia was brutal, and Stalin murdered tons of people before and
Not
after
to mention,
the war.
not to mention the 6 million people that died at the hands of the Nazis.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Absolutely.
And if you don't know, people, listeners, what Operation Paperclip is, long story short, we won the war, and the Nazi scientists were conducting horrible, horrendous experiments on other people.
But, and this is the crazy thing. Even though what the Nazi scientists did was horrendous, they were light years ahead of everyone else when it came to technology and research.
Yes,
and,
Jet
and
propulsion,
information.
yeah.
Yep.
And so, America and Russia, literally, even though we were allies, the entire time we're like, when this shit's over, it is on.
Yep.
And so, they both had an understanding that they were going to get as many. It was a race to get to Berlin.
It was like headhunting, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the first person there won. And so the idea was we had to get there before Russia so we could get as many scientists and as much research and as much information as possible. Because
Yep.
for as insane and crazy as the scientists were, they discovered things that most of the world did not know. So
Yep.
we needed that. And that's how we have the rocket powered 60s that we have. That's how we
Yep.
got to space, was on Nazi tech, which is crazy, but that's true.
That's just history. Like, we
Yeah.
gave them new identities, and we basically gave them amnesty, and we're like, all right, you work for us now. Mostly because they didn't have a choice. But
Right,
also
we
at
would
the
have
same time-
war trialed their asses, and they were
Yes.
like, "Look, either help us or you're gonna die." They're like,
Yep.
"Sounds good to me." That's my that's my Nazi scientist voice.
Pretty
Some
good.
of- I would love.
Very good. I'll build a
there's-
shuttle.
Keep doing that, boys.
That's not at all.
You should keep that. You should keep that guy in your pocket just in case you ever need to bust him out at a German state
That's
dinner.
a great character, the crazy Nazi scientist. No, the crazy, air quotes, American scientist.
Ooh.
Yes, my name is John Smith.
Oh my god. I love the hamburgers.
And the milkshakes.
And milkshakes. I love the French fries.
Guys,
I think you're slipping into French accent.
I hate to digress. I hate to digress too much, but I just want to tell you, I was at an American restaurant in Norway recently, and they had an American cowboy breakfast that was a egg, bacon, beans, a chili cheese dog, and a pancake.
Is that the only thing we have at breakfast? We have eggs, bacon, chili cheese dogs, and pancakes.
Yo, that sounds like a damn good meal.
That's Dr. Von Braun's American breakfast right there.
I love to put beans on my pancake.
Oh my god.
Go mit Sweden!
All right.
American chili cheese dogs. Hell Hydra. Yeah.
Oh my god. That's another great topic though for another day is secret like government things that we like operations like Paperclip and
hell yeah.
What's the one that we tried to brainwash
MK
people
Ultra?
in tournament? Yeah, MK Ultra, which is
That's my
wild
favorite
one. It's
that
fucking
movie
nuts.
is so good. The Man Who
MK
Scared
Ultra
Goats.
is like actually really fascinating.
Yes.
And is a real thing that happened. The results, I'm not sure anyone knows what the actual results were, but it's fascinating what actually happened, which is cool.
Yeah. Back to the Nazis at the center of the earth, however. So
This is a great podcast.
I fucking love this show, man.
Yeah, this
like
is
one of
just
my
great
favorite
that that's
projects
a
I've
real
ever
sentence
done.
you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So they all live there, and they live in harmony, and are still alive because the center of the earth is a paradise, and the people who live there live for hundreds of years in perfect health. Now, the question I have is why the aliens and the people who live in the center of the earth accepted Hitler with open arms is
Maybe
beyond
he's
me.
chill. Maybe he's chill now.
Maybe he killed them all.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's true.
He is an asshole.
I mean, they have advanced tech, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's possible. He is an asshole.
Yeah.
So this story gets a little more complicated when we start talking about the Nazi-designed UFOs, which I did talk about a little bit earlier, Nazi collaboration with the people who live in the center of the earth, and the explanation for Aryan-looking UFO pilots.
I wish you could see the notes. "Quote unquote" Aryan-looking UFO pilots.
Listen, dude, it's not. You can't. It's air quotes because we don't know. Like it's the idea that all falls back to because of A, of course, everything's connected to aliens, and B, the Nordics and the tall whites. Remember, the physical description of the Nordics at the very least are taller, whiter humans that are.
How would you describe them, son? They were tall whites, sir.
Well, damn. They must have been the aliens.
I saw them. They were tall whites.
Anything else, young man? What else did you see? What? How would you describe them in two
Sort of
words?
Nordic, sort of Nordic looking, very tall, very white.
Humans, then?
Sure. They just seemed a little more hateful than humans.
Well, damn, then they must be aliens.
Not very Christian, sir.
All right. Well, damn, then they must die. So yeah, but the idea of the Nazi collaboration with these people and the explanation of the Aryan quote unquote looking UFO pilots ties into the idea that at the center of the earth, the Nordics live there, and for whatever reason, we know the reason. They worked with the Nazis because remember, the Nordics believe that white is the color of purity, and we're a better people because we're white, which is complete racist bullshit. But that's why the Nazis worked with them, and that's where the Nazis got their UFO technology and the like. But at the end of the day, while the evidence for either Hollow Earth theory is close to nil, we just don't have any evidence, even though some folks claim to have proof in the form of photos, which if you ever look for those photos, I wouldn't call them concrete proof that the Earth is hollow.
Give me some HD fucking conclusive evidence.
Right, yeah. The story involving Nazis, war, and the romance of exploratory adventure sounds like the makings of a great Indiana Jones story. In fact, it is. In the novel Indiana Jones and the Hollow Earth by Max McCoy, Indy comes into the possession of a mysterious journal hinting at the existence of an underground civilization that he and the Nazis race to find.
I wonder what Max McCoy's real name is.
Me too. That's got to be a pen name.
The fate of the world.
is in Indy's hands.
The fate of the world, hollow or not,
is in Indy's hands. You're welcome for that wonderful line in the notes.
I love that.
And that is as believable. The story of Indiana Jones is as believable as the story of the Earth being hollow in general. Is the Earth hollow, boys? Well, that's up to you.
How hollow?
It's not.
How hollow? It's not. See, this is why I said Hollow Moon is more, and I'd say credible with quotes, because there's more quote unquote evidence about the Hollow Moon. Here, it's literal, like, conjecture that people pulled out of their ass. Somehow it got going and had a following, and then a goddamn Hollow Earth Research Society exists now to this day.
Send it to Zoom, guys. Give me that shirt.
Because a fucking failed salesman in Ohio screamed loud enough and long enough that other people started to believe him. That's why this theory, obviously boiling it down to its most simplest form, this theory still fucking exists. Because this guy found...
You're so mad about this.
Because it's so stupid.
I don't know. I'm starting to believe it.
What part, Jesse? What part? What part really has you believe it?
Where there's
I think it's the Nazis. If I had to guess.
The Nazis? Yeah.
No,
The
no.
Nazis.
No, the part where Indiana Jones is there and he's like on an adventure, and I bet that'd be cool.
That's what made you believe that there was a Indiana Jones book written about it? All right.
What I believe is that out there somewhere is a better story than the last Indiana Jones movie we got.
I mean, that's not there's no doubt.
I gotta say that movie gave me some stuff that I wish.
The Crystal Skull was an alien skull, mind you.
Yeah, I wish that there was more aliens in Indiana Jones. I read a screenplay one time that was him like with the flying saucers. That was a great adventure.
The greatest Indiana Jones.
It also ends with like. It also begins with Shorty like getting murdered on a boat.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I wish they did that.
I wish they did. Well, we're gonna get another Indiana Jones movie, so get ready. Maybe.
Good Lord, trotting out the corpse of Harrison Ford for one last adventure. He's gonna be the MacGuffin. It's gonna be his bones.
The Indiana Jones bones.
He's gonna crash on a golf course in Santa Monica, and Shia LaBeouf's gonna have to come get him.
Well, that's Hollow Earth, boys. Researching this was really fun. Because of just the insanity of it. Like, there was less... what was nice is there was way less science and math for me to talk about. Because there just isn't much scientific conjecture about the Earth being a hollow paradise. Or where Nazis live. Or rotating layers separated by luminous atmospheres that give energy and create Aurora Borealis. So, that's Hollow Earth. And from there, with Hollow Earth and Hollow Moon out of the way...
Now we can go to reptilians. Now we can go everywhere.
Yeah, and we've covered the basics of aliens. We truly have laid the foundation for the even more nonsense shit that I can't wait to talk about. And like Jesse said, keep in mind, there are caves and stuff and all throughout the Earth, and there is hollow points and tons of stuff that we will maybe explore hundreds of years from now. But there's just no Nordics living in a paradise.
It's called Norway. It's a wonderful place. I was just there for 10 days. They've got great mackerel.
You were in the land of the Nordics.
I was at a Nordic. I was in a Nordic place. It felt very alien.
Hitler laying on a beach in his really skin tight bathing suit, sipping.
No, that's in Brazil or whatever, right? That's another thing we can do.
That's another theory that he escaped to Brazil or whatever and lived a life there and
Argentina.
Do you? Hey. American scientist John Smith.
Yes.
Do you know where Hitler is?
No, I don't.
All you have to do is look in the air. If you look hard enough, you can see it.
No, the telescope is definitely not on the moon.
How the fuck did they explain the moon?
Well, Nazis are. Well, you have to subscribe to one. You either believe. Oh, you mean like? How do they describe the moon?
If the Earth is concave.
Right, you can still look into the sky, though. It's not like a... Think of it like a bowl.
So we're saying... Okay, it's like instead of Halo, it's like Bolo.
Yeah, yes. Yes.
But there's still a moon above.
Yep.
Good Lord, Nazis.
I also would love to see the debate between people who believe Hitler's on the moon and Hitler is in the center of the Earth.
I can't believe there's even more stuff that the Nazis were wrong about that I didn't know about. That's amazing.
They sent an expedition, man.
Good
It's
Lord.
great.
Oh my God.
And that, for you, ladies and gentlemen, is the official episode 6 of the Chilluminati podcast, Hollow Earth. I'm just glad that's out of my system, and I can never look at this outline ever again.
I'm going to read a lot more about concave Earth because that sounds dumb.
I only barely looked into a concave Earth because that to me was like a whole nother rabbit hole of just insanity that I was like, this not for today. Not now. Maybe another day.
I can't wait to go deeper, pun not intended, into this.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
It's great, dude. That's why I just want to say to all the viewers, by the way, and everything, thank you, as I say at the end of every episode, for support of this podcast. This has just been so much fun. I fucking love talking about this stuff. We've crossed over 255 star reviews on iTunes. Which is, yeah, it's awesome. People have been begging for another episode, and here it is. Next episode, not to spoil what it is specifically, but we venture away from the paranormal and into the world of true crime.
An unbelievable true story.
It is an awesome story. I will make sure I cite the books that the book that I read and whatever sources I need. So if you want to go read the story on your own, because I can't give you I won't be able to give you every fucking beat by beat detail of this man's life, but it is phenomenal. It is incredibly interesting, and I'm really excited to dip into that. So that'll be the next episode for you guys here on the Chilluminati podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching, or listening rather. I'm so used to videos. Doing a podcast is different. Thank you for listening to the episode. If you guys want to tweet at us, Chilluminati Pod on Twitter. There's a subreddit where people are continually putting up their fucking cool ass stories. I recently read a story about somebody's own doppelganger encounter from the mini episode you and I did, Alex. I don't know if you read it, but you probably did. There's some really cool doppelganger stories up there.
Good Lord, man. It's just the creepiest shit, all the stuff that people were saying. One of them really spooked me. I want to give a shout out to it. Let me pull it up because I
look it up.
I replied to one and I was like, yikes.
Yeah, it's some cool. The community around this podcast has been awesome. We appreciate it. Again, if you're going to be, while he's looking that up, at Indie PopCon, June 8th at 6:15 p.m. in the Wabash Room, Chilluminati Podcast Live for an hour and a half. We are yours, and we will tell you hopefully the coolest Indianapolis story that we can come across.
Dude, we should go ghost hunting. We got some time.
I would love to. That'd be super cool. If there's a place nearby that we can do it, I would love to do it.
I've got some good audio equipment. That's the best I can offer.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Nessius448. I just want to give him a shout out because it freaked me out. Can I just read this? It's like 2 paragraphs.
Yeah,
Sure.
Go for it.
I listened to your podcast on doppelgangers and felt obligated to share my own personal story. One day in 2008, when I was about 8 years old, I was sitting in my dad's condo living room. My parents were separated on our old beat-up leather couch. My dad was sitting next to me, and we were watching cartoons while he played a video game on his laptop. It was around 2 p.m. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I see movement in the hallway leading towards the bathroom. Standing there was what looked like my mother. She was wearing a long white dress, had her hair tied up in a bun, and was staring at me with a blank expression on her face. I looked at my dad, who was engrossed in his game, and asked him if he saw her too. He shook his head no, and when I looked back, she was gone. I quickly forgot about it and went about my day. A few hours later, my dad received a call from my grandmother that my mother was in an accident and was at the hospital for a severe head injury. My dad, suddenly remembering what I said, asked what time she got hurt. My grandmother replied around 2 in the afternoon. My dad and I have long theorized as to why I saw her and what it could have meant. I'm still not sure whether it was a crazy coincidence, a child fantasy, or something more, but I felt obligated to share.
That's a wild story, man. That is such a weird thing to have happen.
It resonated with me because I remember, like, thinking to myself the day that my grandfather died in like 1994, so I was very young at the time, but he like crossed my mind earlier in the day, and I was like, wow, like I don't even know if I knew he was sick because he was pretty old at the time too, you know. I think he died at a hospital, but like, again, I was very young, and I just remember thinking to myself, like, I wonder what's wrong with my grandpa. And then like my dad came home and told me he died.
That's wild.
It's crazy. That type of story really freaks me out.
Yeah. There's a ton of stories like that on the subreddit too. So
yeah, which is why what's his name is so successful, that psychic guy. But you know,
oh yeah, crossing over with John Edward.
Yeah, exactly. We should do a Chilluminati on his ass.
His fraud ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be a fun one to do too.
Guys, believe whatever you want. Don't believe that man.
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you so much. Appreciate all the support. I'm looking forward to the next episode. You can find us on Twitter, Facian A or for Alex, Jesse Cox for Jesse, and Mathis Games for myself. We love you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.